Hey friend, welcome. I have two casseroles, breakfast casseroles, that I thought I would share kind of my method, the way I make them, and that's what we do to make our Christmas morning kind of special. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Jen. I'm married to Alex, and we have 4 kiddos. They are 3, 5, 11, and 14. And I like to chat about contentment and what that means in a world that's just full of comparison and sometimes competition. So you might wonder what Christmas morning breakfast has to do with contentment. And I think that a lot of times we hold ourselves to high standards, and like things have to be perfect and magical, and it's not always the case. It's not always the case. So, I try to do recipes that are simple, easy on the budget. That's not always the case, especially for special occasions like Christmas. But these I do think are pretty budget friendly. And then healthy. But again, Christmas, I'm not super worried about it being healthy. I just want it to be special, but easy for me. And delicious. And you know what? Sometimes things don't always turn out the way we've planned, and sometimes things don't always go the way we want them to, and that's okay. That's okay on a Tuesday, and that's okay on Christmas morning. And I just hope that you get some good ideas from this. Just 2 simple. We do 1 savory and 1 sweet, and so that's what I'm going to show you today. And I hope you enjoy. Okay, so the first one we're gonna make is the savory casserole. This is easy. Is it healthy? Probably not. We're gonna start with tater tots. There are healthier tater tot brands where there's like just mostly potatoes. I did not buy these, so that is not the brand that ended up in my freezer. But just frozen tater tots. You could probably just use hash browns, maybe like a layer of like those flat ones, or you could grate up a potato actually and use that. That would be lovely, and probably the healthier option. I had some helpers earlier cook up some turkey for me, some ground turkey. So this is 3 pounds. I am not putting 3 pounds on there. Here's my little hack. When you are browning meat of any kind, chicken, turkey, beef, whatever, cook double of it. Especially like tomorrow, we are planning to have spaghetti for dinner. So my meat's done for tomorrow. All I have to do is heat it up a little bit and it's good to go. Now here is where we add the vegetables, and here's another save yourself some trouble. Frozen diced peppers. You don't need to dice them yourself. You have better things to do with your time. And frozen diced onions. Again, you know what? There are times when it is worth it to dice a fresh onion. This is not that time. And then frozen mushrooms. They're just sliced. Probably they would go over better in my house if they were diced up. I could be nice to my family and dice them, but I'm not going to. You also could probably get like a can of mushrooms, but I don't think that the nutritional value is as high when they're canned as when they are frozen. But we use canned mushrooms all the time. So I keep these in the door of my freezer. I add them to everything. So now I'm gonna add my spices to my egg mixture. I had another little helper crack 8 eggs, I believe, into my Pyrex. I just like to use this because it has a spout and it's easy to pour. So you'll notice I'm terrible at measuring anything. I don't love to cook. When I have to measure things out, it takes too much time and I don't like that. But one thing I have learned in cooking is I have to really, a lot of times even with recipes, when I am following an exact recipe, I will double the spices just because it just adds that much more flavor. So I will tell you, I am adding probably about a tablespoon of each of these things, and I'll tell you. So I added parsley flakes, oregano, garlic powder, onion powder, and then I will add salt and pepper. When we are following a better eating plan, we don't use pepper because of there's a family member that is upset by pepper, but clearly this is not following any sort of plan. It's just delicious. So, is there an easier way to do this with salt? I don't know. Okay, some salt, some pepper. I probably didn't need the onion powder, but can anyone have too much onion powder when it's, you know, eggs and sausage? So one thing I would normally, I'm struggling with these. I would normally add sage instead of the oregano. I am out of sage. But I will tell you that if you can add sage, add sage. It just is really good in breakfast foods. So I'm going to also add some almond milk. Mine is missing a cap because I have a 3-year-old who likes to take caps off. Probably about a half a cup. I just add that, and then I'm going to grab a fork and whisk that all up. It's very exciting, the whisking. Do you use a whisk or a fork? I don't like how the eggs get like caught inside a whisk, so I use a fork. And I think it works just as well. The almond milk, you can use cow milk if you want, probably oat milk if you wanted. The almond milk, any kind of milk you would want to add would be just fine. But it just makes the eggs a little bit creamier. So I just pour that right over the top. Done. And then one of my little helpers, they're not so little, they're big girls, grated some cheese for me, and I'm just going to throw that right on top. You could mix it in with your eggs maybe. I don't know, that might get clumpy. Really, you can do this however you want. I will try to find a recipe that is similar and link it below. But I find that this kind of dump stuff in a pan method for casseroles works really well for me, because then I can add things that, you know, maybe if I had some leftover vegetables in the refrigerator that were gonna go bad, I could chop those up. Well, you know, you just use what you have left over. If you know, maybe had some leftover bacon would be really good in this, or some breakfast sausage, or pork would be delightful, especially with that sage. Pork and sage is just a really good combo. So, all right, so this is going to go into the oven for probably about 45 minutes at 350-ish. I will sometimes bump up the heat if I need it to cook a little faster, but I always do like the knife test on the eggs just to make sure that those eggs got cooked all the way through. And that's it. Show you how it turns out in the morning. So there it is. This is just dished up for a child, so there's not much on there, but it's delicious and so simple. Now, last night I did go ahead and bake this, And then this morning I heated it up. And here's my little trick for heating things up. I turn the oven on and put the item that I'm heating up in the oven right as I turn it on. And then about 5 or 10 minutes after the oven is preheated, it's all ready to go and nice and warm. So that is my little trick. Now on Christmas morning, I will bake this just the first thing. Because my husband likes to get up early, he will go ahead and just put the casseroles in the oven. So that's it. Super yummy, delicious, easy, and healthy-ish. Today I'm going to make our sweet casserole for Christmas morning. And I like to make like a French toast kind of casserole, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start with this brioche loaf that I got at Aldi, and this actually has chocolate chips in it. You can use literally any kind of bread, like a French loaf, an Italian loaf, just regular loaf from the grocery store, whatever kind of bread you want to use. I like to use this just because it has the chocolate chips in it. It makes it a little extra special for that Christmas morning. All I'm going to do is cube this up and put it in my casserole dish. So now all I'm going to do is put about eight that was 8 and eggs combined together if you didn't get that. About 8 eggs in I like to pour it into a measuring cup. That's just, I don't know, I think because it pours out easier. So I'm gonna get those eggs cracked. There's a lot of bread, so I actually went ahead and did 10 eggs. I'm gonna just whisk these up a little bit. I use a fork, you can use a whisk. However you whip your eggs. I don't know. I like to add milk to my eggs. It makes them extra creamy. I'm probably gonna add about, let's see, about a cup of milk and just a little bit of salt. And I'm gonna whisk that together a little more. Now, hopefully you've heard me say, and if you haven't, I'll tell you again, or I'll tell you for the first time, or maybe I'm telling you again. Sometimes I have to look at what I'm doing, or I get eggs everywhere. So I don't love to cook, so I like to make things easy, budget-friendly, but also delicious. So it can't just be like eggs and bread. It has to taste good, right? So to kind of up the flavor of this casserole, I'm gonna add some maple syrup and probably about 2 tablespoons. I'm also gonna add some cinnamon. That's probably about a teaspoon. And then I'm just gonna add a dash or 2 of mace, which is basically nutmeg. I'm gonna do 3. You could probably add clove as well. And yes, I do notice the little hands that are taking the bread. It's okay. So you could also add clove if you want. I'm just gonna stick with the cinnamon and the nutmeg, and then I'm also going to add some orange flavor. So I've already washed my orange. I'm going to just zest it right into here. I'm not a great zester, but I just use a little cheese grater to zest. I know there's like specific zesting tools, but I am not that fancy. Then I'm also going to add the juice directly into my mixture here. Just add some more flavor. Now, it's not overpoweringly orange. If you wanted it to be overpoweringly orange, you could probably, add another orange. But it just adds a really nice flavor to this casserole. Just giving it another little spin around my mixing cup here, my measuring cup, and my bowl, I guess. Trying to get all those spices mixed in so it is all throughout the mixture, and then I'm just gonna pour it right over the top. Now this casserole, the savory casserole, I feel like you can just bake right away. This one needs to sit overnight. So for me, it's perfect because I can make it at night, put it in the refrigerator, and then first thing in the morning, well, Christmas morning, my husband will get up early and put them in the oven, both the casseroles. So, and then it's ready in just about an hour. So I'm just gonna put the lid on, put it in the refrigerator, clean up my mess, clean up my spilled egg everywhere here, and then tomorrow morning I'm just gonna put it in the oven at 350 for about an hour. I do the knife test. You know, you can use toothpicks if you're fancy and have toothpicks. Mine always end up in some random art or science experiment. But I just stick a knife in and just make sure that egg is done because nobody wants to eat raw egg. That's pretty gross. But that's it for tonight. Well, this just goes to show you that sometimes life doesn't always go as planned. So I got a little distracted while this was in the oven, and we have a rule in our house that whoever turns off the timer either has to be the person that turned the timer on or has to notify the person that turned the timer on. And one of my family members did not obey that rule. I will not throw that person under the bus, but that person is still loved. So we have some finished, overly finished product. Truth be told, we're probably just gonna cut the top layer off and eat it anyway, because it's delicious. Well, a little less done. Well, I hope I, one, gave you a couple ideas for Christmas breakfast, and two, showed you that life doesn't have to be perfect, and sometimes we can just laugh at ourselves. It is what it is. I would love to know what you have on Christmas morning. Do you do something traditional, something different, something fun? Let me know. Tell me in the comments, and if you've enjoyed this video and my disaster here, please give me a like, a thumbs up. They tell me that's really good and lets other people know that to watch the video. So consider subscribing if you haven't already, and make sure you check out this video. I make other videos on homemaking, motherhood, and marriage. Friend, please know that whether your breakfast is burnt or it's a wonderful feast on Christmas morning, that you are okay just the way you are. I'll see you soon.